Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Kansas Flamingo Chef. And today, I want to ask you if you know what this is. You've seen them in the grocery store, maybe you've seen them at the farmer's market, maybe you've even eaten one. But most people have no idea what to do with one. Today I'm going to show you something really good you can make with eggplant. It's a side dish, or you can just eat it by itself. It's a great vegetarian meal, eggplant stew. Stay with me. Okay, so let's get started with what we're going to use today. Obviously, an eggplant. I've got a medium-sized onion, some celery, a couple of zucchini, dried parsley. You can use fresh parsley if you've got it. Minced garlic. Again, you can always chop up your own garlic, saves a little time. Cavender's Greek seasoning. Here's a shock. Chef Chamois garlic butter. If you don't have garlic butter, you can use regular butter, but I'm telling you, this makes a difference. Got a little sour cream today. I've got 1 can of stewed tomatoes. I've got some cinnamon, salt and pepper, a can of garbanzo beans, also known as chickpeas. They don't have to be any special kind, just whatever is available. And last but not least, some red wine. Now I've opted for a little box of red wine today just because it makes for easy cooking. But if you've got a bottle open, it really doesn't matter what kind of wine you use, as long as it's a deep red wine. Don't use sweet wines. All right, so the first thing we have to do is cut up the eggplant. Now I'm just going to cut the top off like this, and then I'm going to cut some of that. This stuff is not really difficult. As you cut it, we're just going to cut it into big circles straight across. So you get all the way down to the end here and cut that little end off. Okay, and then from there we're just going to chunk this out. So in the end, what you're going to have are pieces kind of like that, and just do that to the whole thing. Up next, we're going to chop up celery. I've just got a couple of stalks. I'm just going to cut that into usable pieces. And then I generally cut it again for this because I don't want big chunks of celery in this stew. Zucchini we're going to cut pretty much the same way we cut the eggplant, so just cut the ends off. We'll discard those. Cut the rest down into chunks. And then just kind of chop them out into smaller pieces. Okay, we've got a medium-sized onion. I'm going to use about half of this. Okay, the apron is on. It's time to cook. And we're going to use this medium-sized saucepan. And basically what we're going to do is add our ingredients one by one. And just follow the steps. We're going to start by turning this up to about medium-high heat. First thing to do is put some butter in the pan. I'm going to put quite a bit in here. This is going to be about 1.5 tablespoons of butter. It's what was left in this particular container. And just let that slowly melt down. And as it does, you want to move it around a little bit because we're going to coat the bottom of the pan with that butter. Now if you want to add some olive oil, now would be a good time to do so. And I'm going to put about a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil into this pot. It's really all it needs. Okay. Stir that in with your butter. That nice garlic smell going on. And that's when we're going to add some garlic. And this is going to be the equivalent of about 3 cloves of garlic. And we'll bring the heat up just a little bit. Let that garlic simmer down. Okay. I'm going to add some Cavender's Greek seasoning. And I like a lot. But realistically, somewhere between 3/4 and a full tablespoon is about what you need. Don't feel like you're putting too much in there, you're not. We're going to add some parsley. Here, probably about a teaspoon. We're going to add some pepper. About the same amount as your parsley. You hear that start to sizzle, you gotta move it because you don't want to burn the parsley. Okay? And some salt. Garlic and salt belong together. Alright, at this point, the first thing that's going to go in is your eggplant. I've got a whole eggplant here, which is going to take up most of this pot. I'm just going to move it around a little bit. Let it get all of that good stuff around it. Let that eggplant cook down for, a minute maybe, minute or two. We're going to add a little cinnamon to it. Cinnamon makes everything better. You can see the eggplant's already reduced by about 50%. I mean, that just soaks that stuff right up. So once it's down almost to the bottom, we'll go ahead and add your onions and your celery and your peppers. And stir those in as well. Now, if you chopped up zucchini, like I did earlier, this is when you put the zucchini in. Turn that together. Right now, all we're doing is just letting all these vegetables release water and oil into that pot. And as they do, you're going to hear them sizzle. And as they start to sizzle, we're going to add a little red wine. Because all we're going to do is deglaze the bottom of the pan with the red wine. For those of you who don't know what deglazing is, it's simply using the wine, the liquid, and the alcohol to break up anything that's sticking to the bottom of the pan. It doesn't take very much. In fact, you'll see the stuff move as you turn it. The garlic and butter that's gotten stuck will just kind of break free. Now, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but that eggplant is breaking down. It's getting much smaller and it's starting to look different, and that's exactly what I want it to do. I'm going to add just a little bit more wine because it's still a little dry in there. So for those of you keeping score at home, I've probably got 2 to 3 ounces of wine in there. The zucchini is going to take longer to break down than the eggplant does. It's okay. The zucchini actually gives it a little color and texture that you wouldn't have otherwise. All right, as that cooks a little bit, I'm going to take my can of tomatoes that is not drained, dump the whole thing in there, and move them around. Some people like more tomatoes, and if you do, or you want it more liquidy, by all means, add more tomatoes. At this point, really all this needs to do is cook for a while. It needs to sit and simmer. You can go ahead and add the chickpeas now if you want to. I like to add them a little later, but for the sake of this video, seeing what it looks like, I'm going to go ahead and add them. And I did drain the chickpeas when I opened the can. Don't just dump all that liquid in there. It changed the whole consistency of the dish. I'm going to let this cook down, and we'll take a look at it in a little bit. If you want more tomato, by all means add more tomato. You can add some tomato juice if you want. This is the way I like it, because you'll see here in a little bit, all those liquids are going to come out of the vegetables and out of the tomatoes, and it's going to look like a stew. We're going to turn the heat down and let this cook for about 30 minutes. Okay, so you've got all your ingredients in there except for the sour cream. So the next thing we're going to do is cover it and let it simmer on medium heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. At that point, open it up, put about a tablespoon of sour cream and mix it in, and then let it continue to cook for another at least 15 minutes, probably a half an hour, and we'll look at it then. Okay, it's been a little over a half an hour. It's sat here and simmered. Let's take a look. Ooh, my goodness, look at that stuff. Yeah, this is when we need the magic of smell-o-vision. So as you can see, it just kind of cooks down, and there's no wrong for this. If you want to cook it longer and get it more concentrated, go right ahead. But that's ready to serve. So I know what you're thinking. I made this eggplant stew. Now what do I do with it? Well, you got a couple options. You can eat it by itself. I recommend just a nice pasta bowl like this, or you could put it in that bowl and put some cheese on it and stick it in the broiler and let that melt over the top. Or better yet, do what I do and serve it as a side dish. In fact, I highly recommend you watch my video on orange roughy and see what I served it with recently. But let me show you what it looks like in a bowl. So all I'm going to do is just take this pasta bowl and a ladle, and voila. That's great eating, I promise. Give it a try. If you don't like it, something's wrong with you. See you next time. Remember to like, share, and subscribe.